Hello everybody! In this session we would like to present you our first results of our design-based research project, in which we investigate the question: how can students explore the critical thinking as an academic practice? Before we start, we would like to introduce ourselves. Tobias is an ethical scientist and professor at the OWL University of Applied Science and Arts in Lemgo in Germany, and also teach at the University of Hamburg in the field of higher education. And I, Alice, I'm just starting my PhD in the field of philosophy and education and work as a research assistant under Tobias. Tobias and I are working on a project about artificial intelligence in higher education. And during this project, we often talked about how important it is for students to critically engage with this topic. Based on this discussion, we start to look at how critical thinking can be taught to students as an academic practice in the first place. And now we would like to share our first findings about this with you in our presentation. First of all, I will give you a definition of critical thinking. Afterwards, I also will give you a short overview of the state of research and the design-based research methodology, which will then lead to our project about critical thinking as an academic practice. And at the end, I also will give you a short overlook on the next steps. Before we completely dive into our project, I would like to give you a short definition of critical thinking, so that everybody is on the same page. Critical thinking can be described as an intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and/or evaluating information gathered from or generated by observation, experiments, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to belief and action. However, in this context, I would like to outline that there are many different definitions of critical thinking, and the different disciplines such as philosophy, psychology, or education point out different aspects of the activity of critical thinking. So, let's talk about the state of research. Critical thinking is one of the most important skills imparted by scientific education. It enables students to access, evaluate, and interpret different theories and topics, making up their own minds and coming to their own conclusions. Especially the ability to acknowledge that there might be other ways of understanding the very same information gains even more importance as students come face to face with new technology developments, such as artificial intelligence or big data analysis. However, critical thinking as a practice students need to be introduced to and experiment with is often neglected by university teachers, in STEM subjects most of all. In a representative survey conducted across German universities by the German Center of Higher Education Research and Science Studies in 2018, 91% of all participant students consider critical thinking very important in regard to their studies. Especially in the humanities, social science, and legal science, students rank the ability to think critically as essential. In contrast, students in the natural and technical science consider critical thinking to be far less relevant. 23% of the surveyed students of natural science and 29% of students enrolled in technical science state that in their studies they are not encouraged to think critically. This might be the tip of the iceberg. On an international level, the scientist Arumin Roska created a stir as he presented a mixed method analysis of more than 2,300 undergrad students enrolled in 24 different universities. The authors concluded that 45% of the undergrads show no scientific improvement in their critical thinking skills while attending college. Based on this research, we have begun to explore how students can experience critical thinking as an academic practice. In order to examine how critical thinking can be communicated as an academic practice, we first decided to choose a design-based research, short DBR framework. The term DBR refers to a research framework characterized by methodological diversity, which aims at developing a specific research-based solution to a real-life problem. Once a solution has been found and appealed, it provides data which, in turn, leads to new theoretical insight. So, DBR project tries to achieve both a development goal and a knowledge goal. Our development goal is to create a prototype for an interactive video helping students explore the theory and practice of critical thinking, while our knowledge goal is to collect data on the improvement of critical thinking in a specific educational setting. The definition by Kopp et al. Outlined in the presentation nicely summarizes these considerations. According to McKenney and Rees, DBR projects can be divided into 3 interconnected phases: analyze and exploration, design and construction, evaluation, and reflection. In the following presentation, we outline the method and results of our first DBR cycle. In the first phase, we created the theoretical groundwork for our prototype. In order to encourage students to engage in critical thinking, it is necessary to first introduce them to the characteristics of thinking. In his writing, the Greek philosopher Plato used 3 nicknames of his teacher Socrates, the gadfly, the midwife, and the electric ray, to explain what thinking might entail. We decided to base our interactive video on those metaphors. In Plato's writing, these nicknames indicate that critical thinking is an exhaustive activity which destroys supposed knowledge, dissolves conventions, and often turn out to be inconclusive. A perfect approach to making students in STEM subjects reconsider their thinking habits. In their studies, these students often differentiate concrete answers from incorrect ones, which is why it is so important for them to start questioning their theories and concepts and to accept the fact that there sometimes is no clear-cut solution. Those metaphors also help students visualize the activity of thinking, highlight specific aspects of critical thinking, and allowing students to explore them in a theoretical context. Based on Plato's description of the activity of thinking, 3 pictures are created to present the gadfly, the midwife, and the electric ray. In the interactive video, these images will be animated and presented one after another. Following each animation, the video will provide tasks and a user interface with a text box for students to type their results. And to give you a better idea how the interactive video will look later, we have provided a preview. In this preview video, you can see an example of how students can be introduced to the activity of critical thinking on the basis of Socrates' nicknames and how students can work on the task set. The answers you will see in the video come from students who have already answered the task about the Socratic nicknames in an online workshop.
Socrates was a Greek philosopher of ancient times and is considered the founding father of critical thinking. Many other philosophers, such as Plato or Aristotle, were influenced by his views. Socrates had several nicknames, which he either got from others or gave to himself. The nicknames were Gadfly, the Midwife, and the Electric Ray. All these nicknames describe the way Socrates thought. And with the help of these nicknames, you can explore today, in this interactive video, the activity of thinking in a creative way. Imagine being the horse in the picture. Gadflies are buzzing around your head. What spontaneous thoughts come to your mind when you imagine this, and what adjectives would you use to describe the gadflies? Write down your thoughts. Could you put your spontaneous ideas into context with the activity of thinking? To what extent can the gadfly be a metaphor for thinking? Write down your thoughts and try to always start your explanations with the following sentence. Thinking is, thinking means, or thinking leads to. Now that you have spontaneously thought about the behavior of gadflies, you will get some more information about the context in which Socrates gave himself this nickname. For this purpose, we have brought you a passage from one of the Platonic dialogues about Socrates. Read the passage from Plato's Apology, in which he compares Socrates to a gadfly. Afterwards, consider and discuss whether you have reached similar reflections in connection with the metaphor of the gadfly and the activity of thinking. How do you interpret Plato's use of the gadfly in the text?
To prepare for the video production, we tested the concept, including pictures and tasks, in a 4-hour online seminar with 60 students from the course Media Education. Applying the method of the conjecture mapping, we used the data obtained in the seminar to test both the design of the interactive video and our theoretical thesis. Based on this analysis, modifications were also made to the specific learning material. As a result, the students will be provided with a short introduction to Socrates in the interactive video and will be invited to brainstorm about the activity of thinking. To increase access to Plato's text, we also changed the texts of Platonic dialogues and will use a simple and modern language. As a next step, we will design and develop the interactive video, which will be tested by students enrolled in the technical and scientific subjects at the OWL University of Applied Science and Arts in Germany. The answers of those participants will be evaluated. Based on this analysis, we will improve the prototype of the interactive video and our theoretic thesis. We hope that our interactive video will help students in STEM subjects to engage in critical thinking and discover its importance for their field of studies. Furthermore, I would like to make the video available to other target groups and create an interdisciplinary workshop during which students from different subjects would be able to express and exchange their ideas on critical thinking. A workshop such as this would also improve the video quality by helping us create a sub-stable setting for the video itself and allow us to gather more data on the application of critical thinking in different university fields. At this point, however, we also should point out the limitations of our project. Naturally, our video only creates an impulse. It gets students to casually think about critical thinking, but it does not and cannot lead to an in-depth examination of the activity of thinking. The aim is rather to find an entry point to the topic and to take it from there in later projects. We are very happy to be part of this conference and looking forward to the different presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions, comments or interest in a possible cooperation.